Hey guys, this is Thomas over here, nursemoneytalk.com. And in this video, what I want to do is I want to talk about whether or not you should quit your job like right before starting nursing school. Now, I guess in a certain way, this could apply to the traditional nursing student, but I think this video is really more or less focusing on that non-traditional nursing student who like you might actually have like a full-time job. You might even have been working for, X number of years, doing one thing or one career or another and now trying to transition. And so you probably hear just about how crazy hard and how time consuming nursing is. And so now you're just trying to weigh the and cons of just continuing your job. So that's what I'm really going to focus on before I get into that. If you're not already subscribed, I want to go ahead and invite you to hit that subscribe button. On this channel, I talk about all things related to nursing student, and of course, nurse life. And as a side note, real quick, if you're about to start nursing school, I want to go ahead and just encourage you to check out the Nursing Student Academy. And so you can check that out by going to nursemoneytalk.com/nursing student academy. Link will also be in the descriptions below. So the Nursing Student Academy is kind of like more or less like a supplemental, kind of like coursework, lessons and whatnot that I think can really help streamline a lot of your learning throughout nursing school. And so they really just, the courses just really kind of take out a lot of the fluff that your typical, nursing program textbooks are going to have. So definitely check that out. Now let's go ahead and get started. And so when really looking at quitting your job for nursing school, I think there's really a lot of factors you really have to look at. So in an ideal scenario, just an ideal situation, I think it would be best if you actually could quit your full-time job and really just dedicate, your time and everything else or whatnot to nursing school, because it is going to be hard. I mean, when they say it's going to be challenging and when people are telling you it's going to suck, you're going to hate your life and blah, blah, and all that other stuff, there's a lot of truth to that. But I think it's important to note that when I mention the ideal situation, that is ideal. And we don't live in an ideal world. We live in the real world. We live in the world that we live in. And being able to just quit your job and focus solely on nursing school is not going to be a very feasible option for many of you. And this could be whether you're a non-traditional, even a traditional student. And in a lot of situations, in a lot of factors, I should say, like looking back at my own schooling, where I think in a lot of ways I would fit the bill as being the traditional student. When I went to school, I didn't have any kids. I was single for the most part, through it. And even then I had to work. So I did keep a job. I kept a job throughout my, undergraduate. I kept a job, while I was getting my prereqs, and I even was able to keep a job throughout nursing school. And so this gets into the other point, which is, if you do have to keep a job during nursing school, it is possible. It is doable, because I was able to pull it off. And, in a lot of other videos, such as like the one I'll put up here, where I've talked about my experiences of working 40 plus hours throughout nursing school, it can be done. Now, I will say it is not ideal, but it can be done. And I think that is the key thing to really look at. Now, when looking at, now getting back to, because in a moment, I'm going to talk about probably some things you should look for in a job if you are going to keep it through nursing school. But before that, I think there are two things that you really should be considering, or looking at when you are, running through your head of, should I quit this job or should I not quit this job? The first thing is, how much studying are you going to need? Now, I've went through school with some students, some peers who it seems like for some of them, like they could just sit, listen to a lecture and that's it. They got it. They were going to ace the exam. They were just built differently. I mean, they hardly needed to study at all to just ace the exams. I've also went through school with some other students who they showed up for every lecture. They did a ton of studying, hired probably like the best tutors, and just seemed to struggle throughout school. And either situation, like it just is what it is. There's nothing to be ashamed about per se, but you just have to be honest with yourself. Where do you fit in that? Because if you're the type of person where you know you're going to struggle and you just need a lot of attention, you're going to need a lot of that attention. You're going to need a lot of those tutors, which check out nursemoneytalk.com/tutors if you are looking for, a tutor for nursing school. But all that aside, like if you are like somebody who you're going to need all of that, then at that point, you really probably should be looking at what are my options to not work or work as little as possible so I can be successful. Because remember, the end goal is ideally to be successful. The other thing to look at is just looking at how are you going to financially make things work? Like how much do you cut down your bills? Do you have any other dependents, or is it just you? Or do you have a spouse that's dependent on you? Do you have kids? Do you have caregivers? There's only so much you can, when it's just you, I should say, like you can cut back a lot easier than when there's all of a sudden there's a spouse and a lot of other extenuating circumstances in the mix. So those are the things that you're really going to have to look at. And if you do have like a spouse, a partner, or whatever, it's not just you, flying solo on this, then you really need to sit down and have a very, very strong and tough conversation with your partner and just kind of figure out where are you guys at? What are some sacrifices that can be made to be able to get you through this? The third point, and kind of get into that last thing that you really have to consider when trying to make this decision, is how flexible is this job that you actually have? And so I've written some articles and, some videos on even like what are some good jobs for nursing students, I should say. And one of the things that you will see as a pattern is that a lot of it tends to be hospital jobs for the most part. And the big reason for that is because hospitals, they tend to be open 24/7. And there's a lot of options for hours, and that helps with flexibilities because when you look at, for instance, like even ignoring like your lectures, looking at clinicals alone, because that's going to be a lot of the pain in this. Your clinicals could be, who knows when. It could be in the morning. It could be in the afternoon. It could be in the weekday. It could be on the weekend. And while some programs will try really hard to work with students on this, ultimately the programs themselves are kind of restricted based on what time slots they have with the particular hospital, and also based on however many students that they have, because even if they have like a morning time slot and everybody wants a morning time slot, that's not everybody can get that particular time slot. And so really checking out the flexibility of the job, and, maybe you can go part-time. Those are some of the things that you're really going to have to be looking at, which then gets me to my last and final point, which is when it comes to looking at what jobs are going to be best for keeping through nursing school. Now, I already made a video, so you can check that out. But to kind of bring this down, like kind of give you some bullet points if you don't want to check out the full video, you want a job that obviously financially gets you where you need to be at, ideally. And then you really want a job that's going to be very, very flexible for what you need. And so that's why, like, I would encourage you to really look at all the other points that I've mentioned. And then, if that job's not going to work, then maybe start then looking at other jobs that might be out there. So I would then encourage you to check out the job board at nursemoneytalk.com/jobs and start looking around, start seeing what options are available to you. The earlier you start looking, the earlier you start figuring out what you're going to need, the better. You can, because that'll give you more time to get yourself situated before things really, start to get going in nursing school. But that is all I've got for you in this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you very soon in that next video.